What you guys are doing. Today we are going to be talking about John Petrucci. John Petrucci is obviously one of the best guitar players of our time, our generation. He's known for his insane chops, his beard, plays in one of the most influential bands in metal, Dream Theater, plays in Liquid Tension Experiment. I think he played in OSI, which was like a spin-off or like a side project. We're gonna be digging into his tone on Awake, one of my favorite Dream Theater albums. It was one of like the prog masterpieces, one of the first prog masterpieces that I ever heard, and I was like, dude, this shit's from the future, what's going on? And we're gonna be dialing his tone on a Fractal FM9. So if you got a Fractal, get the patch down below, and let me know what you think. Let's do it to it, Lars. All right, so here we go. Here's the patch. And you're gonna see it's pretty simple, right? And I wanted to go for simple because I wanted to pretend that I had these amps in front of me. I didn't want to mess with anything that wasn't on the actual amp. But the Fractal stuff does lend itself to kind of diving into that rabbit hole, and it's kind of awesome. Here's the rectifier side by itself. Oof. That's pretty fizzy, and it wants to be big, right? It wants to be big. By itself, it's not huge, but in context with the mix, double tracking, having another amp, dude, this thing's gonna sound like an elephant, just ginormous. You know what I mean? Just ginormous. And for the rectifier, I opted for the Recto 1 Orange. I didn't go red. I guess, I don't know. I guess no real reason, I just wasn't feeling the red. Maybe too much compression. I don't know, dude. Don't ask me. I'm not a tone wizard. But that's what the one I opted for. Let's check out the settings. The settings are pretty easy, man. The gain is at noon, and even then, that's a lot of gain. The bass is pretty much non-existent. Obviously, there's a lot of low end in the sound. The mid-range is at 3.21. Treble is dimed out, and the presence is almost dimed out at 8.72. And if you listen to the recording, if you can find the recording on YouTube where it's just the guitars, you'll notice that they're super bright. There's a lot of attack in the tone. And I kind of wanted to retain that. Now Mesas, they're kind of known for like being difficult to dial or whatever, but honestly, I was kind of in the same vein, but what I would highly recommend is you find and download the manuals to any rectifier or any Mesa that you want to kind of get your hands on and dial in the way it's supposed to be dialed in. Before dialing in this tone, I actually downloaded the rectifier manual, the JP2C manual, and the manual for Mark II. And I tell you what, man, brother, that was a big game changer for me. It actually helped me see how like the circuitry and how the knobs are actually interactive, right? So if I move one knob, it's actually affecting the parameters of the way another knob interacts, right? Highly recommend it. Download those manuals and check it out. One thing to keep in mind with the rectifier, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the EQ section actually is shaping the signal from the guitar before it hits the preamp tubes, which is why you get this kind of sound, right? Kind of fizzy, it's kind of got this dark low end, and it's kind of flubby, right? But we're gonna shape that later. And that's also what gives it its sound. And don't be afraid to dial in extremes. My buddy Mike Palazzi, he told me that the rectifiers and the Mesas in general work well in extremes. So feel free to cut out bass entirely, to boost bass entirely. Look, I'm diming out the treble, almost diming out the presence. Feel free to experiment. The master volume, I pretty much didn't touch. And the reason for that was because if I started to increase the master volume, I actually start rolling off the highs with saturation in the power tubes, right? But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep that attack. All right, I don't think I changed anything in the Ideal tab, mainly again to keep the, I don't want to say integrity because then I sound like a snob. Oh, the integrity of the amp, blah, blah, blah. I kind of wanted to deal with the knobs that were on the real amp, on the physical amp. I didn't mess around with anything in the power amp section with the, I messed up. Maybe I did change the power tubes on it, maybe, double check me, but your power tube should be on 6L6 GC GE, and the rest should be normal, right? Feel free to pause it at this point of the video. I can't remember if I moved them or not. Power supply, nothing. Speakers, nothing. Input EQ, nothing. Output. Didn't mess with this output EQ, which is common to do, well, at least for me, because I knew I was gonna send both amps to this EQ, which is a Mark style EQ. Let me see, dynamics, I didn't mess in with that. All right, let's go to the Mark II part. Ooh, we already noticed a difference here, right? You can already tell it's a lot more smacky. Again, extremes work well with this, right? I got the gain not too high, I guess it's relatively high, but I have the overdrive dimed out. Extremes work well with mesas, remember that. And the gain and overdrive, again, another example of knobs that interact with each other. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember correctly, the gain knob is actually telling the overdrive knob how much gain is available, right? So in this case, I have the gain set to 6.79. The overdrive is dimed out at 10. It's fully 100% maximum. Bass, again, is really low at 1.51. Mid is at 9 o'clock, 1.81. Treble is at 8.47. And the presence is at 8042. Again, master volume didn't touch because I want that bite. And bright switch is on. Ah, no. Oh, no. One day I'll get it. All right, let's see. Ideal, nothing here. Preamp here, no boost here. Power amp tube, nothing here. So 6L6 GCs again. Nothing EQ. This output EQ is where this bad boy shines. So again, the same with the rectifier. This EQ section is coming before the preamp stage, right? Again, so this is shaping before it hits the distortion, the overdrive, right? The preamp tubes. For the amps, I'm using the USA 2C+. So this EQ here is actually after, I can't remember if it's after the preamp section or after the power amp section. Feel free to tell me, I can't remember. All I know is it's after preamp section, that's all I know for sure. And this little V kind of thing where the mid-range is scooped is actually very common with the Mark series. Here's with the EQ off. Cool. And with it on, it just brings it to life. I'm scooping, and again, I'm boosting 6600 because I want that bite. Oh. Damn, that's awesome. All right, all right. And then let me put this back on. Now this EQ I put after both amps, right? I wanted to kind of hit both of them with the same EQ setting. And look how scooped this mid-range is, right? This is very common for this kind of stuff. Now listen to what this sounds like now. Oh! With it off. Still sounds good, but with it on, it just transforms. So menacing, dude, jeez. All right, cab section. Cab section, I didn't do anything super out of ordinary. I just straight up went for the the typical suspects, right? I went for a 412 Mesa Recto cab with the 57 and a 412 Mesa with the 121. The 57 is giving me the bright stuff, obviously, and the 121 is going to give me the body. Here it is. The cutoff for both of them is around roughly the same. I got a 7450 for the 57, and then I have the high cut for the 121 at 6900. Nice. Damn, that sounds so beefy. And last but not least, obviously, I hit them both with a straight up, just the 808 overdrive. This right here is gonna hit the preamp harder. It's gonna hit or increase the signal before it hits the amp. And in some cases, you may or may not tell the difference. But to me, the player, I totally feel the difference. So here's with it off, sorry. Here's with it on. Oh. Reverb, didn't really touch much of it. Honestly, just straight up added the small hull. And that's it, because I just wanted the ambience. I didn't want to get too much of a tail because it would muddy everything up. But here it is. And that's that right there. I'll leave a link down below so you can download the fractal patch. Let me know how this works out for you. Let me know how you like the tone and if you want more stuff like this on the channel. Okay, bye. I'm going to keep having fun with it now. it's like a dream come true.